I'm back with another video. This is going to be an MJV animations video. My roommate's 7-Eleven friend, true near... I don't know if this is one story or two, but my roommate's 7-Eleven friend, true near-death horrifying experience. So, I've been to 7-Eleven a few times, but definitely never had any near-death experiences. I haven't been to 7-Eleven in forever. Oh my god, I'm around. I always get those, what are they called? Like, just like slushies? I forget what they're called. What are they called? With all those, oh, they were so good. Slurpees. Oh my god, they were so good. I'm sorry, I didn't have those in like forever, like years now. So, anyway, that's that. So let's get into this video, guys. It's almost 7 minutes long.
So right when I was fresh out of college, I managed to land myself a job with an engineering firm over in Pennsylvania. It kind of sucked having to move away from Rochester, New York, where all my friends and family were. But the salary this firm was offering was so sweet that I just couldn't turn it down. So I went online and got looking for apartments just outside of Philly, eventually finding an advert for a guy who was looking for a roommate for a super swanky apartment.
Okay.
I mean, this place was really nice, and I could get why the guy would be looking for a roommate to split the rent with, especially since he seemed to be a younger dude who was probably in a similar position as I was. However, I didn't have the time to drive down to actually look at the place or meet the guy in person, so I pretty much did all the arrangements by phone, which maybe, now that I look back on it, was my first big mistake.
Yeah, there you go.
So I move in with this guy, Daryl, who was super chill and pretty much spent all day playing 2K since he worked nights. I figured that he must have had a pretty high-paying job, and since he had this huge flat-screen TV, lots of expensive clothes, a nice car, the works, really. We didn't talk all that much, since we were on such different schedules, but eventually, when I asked him exactly what it is that he did for a living, he gave some super vague answer about having some kind of accountancy job. And no matter how much I pressed him for details, he always gave some wishy-washy answer until he got tired of the questions and changed the subject. Like a lot of you reading this, I started to suspect that Daryl wasn't quite telling the truth about what he did for a living.
Yeah,
like not once did I see him wearing anything like a shirt and tie. All his clothes were super upmarket, sure, but they were all super casual. He also had a lot of visitors in the evenings before we left for work. At first, I figured they were just friends of his, but there were a handful he didn't seem all that close with. And every time they stopped by to see him, at some point they'd just scuffle off into Daryl's bedroom for a while, talking in hushed tones before the visitor eventually left.
Is he a drug dealer or something? I don't know why I'm thinking that.
As embarrassing as it is, back then I was pretty naive. Besides that, I really didn't think it was any of my business. The last thing I wanted to do was upset my new roommate and screw away such a sweet living arrangement. So, this one Saturday, I'm in the local 7-Eleven, just like a block away from the apartment, when this dude comes up to me as I'm looking at coffee and asks me if I'm the guy who lives with Daryl. Obviously, I'm all like, yeah, good to see you, dude. I didn't recognize the guy, but I figured that he'd visited the apartment one time, and I just couldn't quite remember his face.
Asks you a personal question
He's
like that?
being all friendly and whatnot, making small talk about this and that before he asked if I know whether or not Daryl was at home right then. I told him I didn't know, but that since it was like mid-afternoon, that he probably was, since he worked nights, whatever that entailed. And the guy's all like, okay, cool, I might stop by and say hi. And all this stuff, then makes some excuses and leaves the store. I pick up a few things and head back to the apartment.
Definitely kind of fishy and weird.
Half expecting to see the guy from the 7-Eleven when I walk through the door. Only he's not there, and when I tell Daryl about how I saw one of his buddies in the store, he has no idea who I'm talking about.
Sus.
Even when I describe the guy in quite vivid detail, he has absolutely zero clue who I'm referring to.
Daryl's pretty sus too, so he's probably lying.
Asking if it was Deshaun or Robbie or Angelo. And it's then that I sort of realized that the guy hadn't given me a name at all. Which is weird, right?
See, sus.
I thought it was.
It's also kind of sub or something.
Like, tell him such and such said hi. Or at least something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't really think anything of it at the time, but Daryl seemed just a little too freaked out by the encounter for my liking.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how do you know me?
And in the moments after I told him, he marches off into his bedroom and stays there for the rest of the evening, talking to someone, I'm guessing on the phone, in those same hushed tones that I was used to hearing. A few days after
Creepy.
this, I'm
No,
walking
Daryl
back
sus.
up
Daryl's
towards
probably
the
gonna
7-Eleven
kill you
to
one day
grab
or
some
something.
milk for coffee when I see the same dude that hadn't given his name parked up at the side of the road. He calls out to me, greeting me and making chit-chat in that same
what's your
warm
name,
way he had
bitch?
before.
Sorry, what's your
Before
name?
again asking if Daryl was home.
Why do you care?
This time I straight up lie to him, telling him that, yeah, Daryl was home. Only this time he was with a bunch of his friends playing 2K.
No.
He wasn't. He was actually out visiting family across the city, but there was something about this guy that I really, really didn't like.
Yeah, he
I
seems
quickly
really
make an
creepy.
excuse telling him I had to go, and it was only then that this guy's demeanor started to change. He wasn't all smiles and laughs anymore. He just eyeballed me as I walked away, and he was still there when I walked back.
Can I help you?
Watching me
Like,
as I
what the
walked
hell's
towards our
wrong with you, my
apartment.
dude? What do you...
I should have seen it coming, and I feel like such an idiot for not knowing what I was headed for. But I guess in hindsight, it's always 2020. Because a couple of nights later, I was
Not
just
anymore.
about to catch some sleep when Daryl finally comes home from work. He seems a little shaken, and asked me if anyone had called by the apartment that evening.
He's probably some kind of
I
drug
tell him
dealer
no,
or some kind
it's
of,
been
like,
pretty quiet, but the
dealing
answer doesn't
something. I
satisfy
don't know. I don't know why I think that, but
He asked
maybe I'm
me if
right.
I'd
We'll see.
seen anyone at all. Anyone hanging around the area that I didn't recognize. I'd already told him about the second encounter that I'd had with the 7-Eleven guy, and this time it had creeped him out even more. He asked if I'd seen that same guy.
Yeah, there's probably some kind of...
evening,
maybe
and I
he owes
told him
somebody
no,
money?
that I hadn't seen him since that
That's what I'm
weekday
thinking.
evening.
Maybe he owes somebody money, that's why he
I turned the
keeps
whole
asking
thing
about
around
him.
and asked him why he was so nervous about this.
Yeah, what's
If
going on?
anything had happened at work that evening, but he was his usual cagey self. He just retreated to his bedroom where he apparently went straight to sleep, which is exactly what I did too. Next thing I know, I'm waking up to this loud banging on the front door to our apartment. I had pretty much knew exactly what the deal was. Daryl had gone out to make a call, as he sometimes did at this time of night, and had left his keys in the apartment. This had happened a handful of times before, and I was honestly getting really sick of being woken up by it.
Right, I'd be
I
pissed if I was
suggested he
woken up by
actually
my
put
mom. I'd be
his
like,
car
get
keys
out of
and
here.
apartment keys on the same key ring,
Is
but
there no curtain there, or am I
apparently that
stupid?
meant if he lost one set, he lost both. Which maybe was quite a smart idea in the long run, but that's beside the point. So I'm all bleary-eyed, shuffling toward the front door in my underwear and a t-shirt when he starts banging again. I'm like, alright, I'm coming. Stop with the banging, Jesus.
It's not Daryl.
Before I undo the deadbolts and open the door,
Well, look who it is first.
I start saying something like, you really should just attach those freaking keys. When I see it's not Daryl at all. In fact, I have no idea who the guy at the door is, because he's wearing a freaking ski mask,
There's two
and
other
I
dudes.
have absolutely not the time or will to ask him,
Wait, isn't one of those Daryl?
nor the other two idiots that he's with. Because as soon as I open the door, he points a gun in my face, and then frog marches me back inside the apartment before locking the door behind them.
Oh, that's the guy.
The ski mask guy makes me kneel on the floor in the TV room,
That's the
and whispers
7-Eleven
to me
guy.
that if I shout or anything, he's going to blow my brains out. I was absolutely terrified. I mean, more scared than I've ever been in my entire life. I had these uncontrollable shakes, like I had trouble just holding my head up. It was more comfortable for me to just rest my chin against my chest and pray that it'd all be over soon. This had a dual purpose too, because the last thing I saw before I did so and shut
Hey,
my
he's the
eyes tight
7-Eleven guy. You can
was
tell
one
by
of
his
the
eyes.
guys placing an empty plastic bottle of the muzzle on his pistol. Naive over something I was, yes, but I knew enough to know that this was some kind of ad hoc way to silence his shot. I didn't want to see what happened next, and I'm glad I didn't, because they burst into Daryl's room, and I heard the pop of that pistol as they shot him. I thought he was dead for a few minutes, like I was convinced that they just straight up executed him right there in his bed. And that was until they dragged him out of the bedroom, bleeding and cursing, and threw him down on the TV room floor a few meters away from me. The one guy kept his gun to the back of my head while they pretty much tortured Daryl right there in the TV room.
So,
One guy stamped on the bullet wound that he had, leaning on it with a sneaker while the other forced his face into a couch cushion to muffle the screams. I mean, it was all obviously horrible what they were doing, and that was disturbing enough.
right?
But what really got me was how they seemed to enjoy the whole thing. How they seemed to take an immense amount of personal pleasure in causing us both as much pain and distress as was physically possible. It was like hearing Darrow's cries of pain was the funniest joke they'd ever heard, how the sight of his blood was the most fascinating, satisfying thing they'd ever seen. And it was then that it all came out. Like I said, you might have guessed what the deal was by now, but I pretty much had no idea back then. I was just so young and dumb. Daryl was a drug dealer and this was a robbery.
Told you.
So they beat the life out of him until he finally spoke up and told them where he kept his money in his stash.
I knew it.
But I mean, for a while there, I thought they might have gotten the wrong place. Daryl flat out denied knowing what they were talking about, and insisted that they got in the wrong place and how there was nothing to find there. But in the end, he broke and told them.
Well, yeah.
They then took to clearing him out, and from what he told me after he'd been discharged from the hospital for a fairly superficial gunshot wound to the shoulder, they'd taken him for about $20,000 plus. I had to cover Daryl's rent for a few months until he was well enough to get himself a real job.
Fuck that.
Turns out he was an actual college graduate with a business degree and was dealing in college to make a little money. When he graduated, the money came too easy that he just didn't bother to get a legit job. He wasn't a gangster. He just didn't have that kind of personality, which I suppose is what made him the perfect prey for the actual criminals that broke in that night. We got over what happened, but obviously Daryl still has this big old scar on his shoulder, a reminder of one of the worst nights of our lives, one that'll always be with us no matter where we go, or what we do, or who we become.
Okay guys, so normally, if you guys know me, then you probably know that I think I'm slow, and you guys probably think I'm slow at times too, like when it comes to stories or what's going on. But apparently, for this story, I was actually on top of it. Like, apparently, I actually knew right away. I was kind of like, I just had drug dealer vibes in my head. I'm kind of like, yeah, this doesn't really seem like anything that's really like innocent. Like, you know, works nights, always in his room, secret, quietly talking. It's like friends over, not really friends. It's kind of like, hey, like, what else would that be? So I just assumed drug dealer. I don't know if any of you also thought the same thing, but I'm just happy that I actually got it right for once, because normally I'm way off, or sometimes I'm off and all that. So yeah. But anyway, that's that. Yeah, that's gonna be for this video. So I don't know. Don't do don't be a drug dealer, because it's not gonna end up well for you. In the end, I mean, it probably won't end up good for you. I'm not gonna say for sure, but it probably won't end up good for you. You might get some money here and there, but you want to die. So yeah, I don't even do drugs. I don't even drink. Like yesterday, like today's New Year's Day, right? Like it's obviously pre-filmed, but today's New Year's Day, and yesterday I probably had like a sip, and that wasn't even. It was non-alcoholic beverage, so I didn't even drink anything. It was non-alcoholic. It was just kind of like a sugary drink, and I was like, this is really sugary. I don't like it. I had one sip, and I was like, that's it. I'm done. I could have had some a liquor. It's in my closet, but I didn't really feel like it. So yeah, there's that. So that's gonna be it for this video once again. Just like a random thing. I don't know why I mentioned that, but yeah, that's gonna be it. Just be sure to be safe at whatever you're doing. Try to do a safe, you know, job. Not that a drug dealer is really a job, but you know, be safe. Have an actual job, and yeah, be safe. That's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching, and peace out, guys.